Democrats have asked President Donald Trump to postpone a speech to Congress, arguing security cannot be guaranteed due to the government shutdown. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said in a letter to Mr. Trump that he should deliver the speech in writing instead, unless federal agencies reopen. Mr. Trump is due to address Congress for the annual State of the Union speech on 29 January. The United States government is partially shut due to a row of border security. The Republican president is demanding $5 billion of congressional funding to build a wall on the United States-Mexico border, but newly empowered Democrats have refused. The White House response came from Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, who tweeted that her department and the United States Secret Service are fully prepared to support and secure the State of the Union. The Department of Homeland Security and the United States Secret Service are fully prepared to support and secure the State of the Union. We thank the service for their mission focus and dedication and for all they do each day to secure our homeland. End of Twitter post by @SECNILSEN. In Wednesday's letter, Mrs. Pelosi cited the extraordinary demands presented by the State of the Union speech. She wrote, both the United States Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security have not been funded for 26 days now, with critical departments hamstrung by furloughs. Sadly, given the current security concerns and unless government reopens this week, I suggest we work together to determine another suitable date. Later in the morning, Mrs. Pelosi suggested to reporters after a party leadership meeting that Mr. Trump could give his speech from the White House Oval Office if he wants. The White House did not immediately respond to the House of Representatives Speaker's suggestion. According to the United States National Archives, the third United States President, Thomas Jefferson, began delivering his State of the Union addresses in writing. This tradition was upheld for more than a century until President Woodrow Wilson spoke in person to a joint session of Congress in 1913. With rare exceptions, all subsequent United States presidents have opted to appear in person on Capitol Hill every year. The political extravaganza is attended by every member of Congress, as well as Supreme Court justices and military top brass. Analysis by Anthony Zucker, BBC Washington. The State of the Union address has become high drama in the modern television era. It's a chance for the president to lay out an agenda for the coming year, surrounded by the ceremonies and trappings of office. For Donald Trump, who frequently shatters the norms and traditions of the United States politics, it's an occasion to follow in the footsteps of his predecessors and reconnect with the history of the presidency. Nancy Pelosi wants to take that away, at least temporarily. It's about attempt to up the ante in the shutdown crisis. While she frames this as a matter of security and housekeeping, it's clearly intended to get under the president's skin. Now Mr. Trump must respond. Some have celebrated the possibility that this over-the-top spectacle of political theater may be scrapped. Others have suggested that far from a slight, this could be an opportunity in disguise. What better way to thwart the ruling elite than by delivering the annual address not in Congress, but before an arena full of supporters in America's heartland? That would be a decidedly Trumpian move, and United States networks would be compelled to air the event in full. This is certainly uncharted territory in modern American politics. By now, however, it's clear that the old charts are no good. The shutdown, now on day 26, is inflicting more damage to the United States economy than previously predicted. One of Mr. Trump's advisers has acknowledged. The White House Council of Economic Advisers on Tuesday doubled projections of how much growth is being lost each week the standoff endures. Its chairman, Kevin Hassett, said that initial estimates of the impact did not fully factor in private companies that have federal government contracts. Economists say that while the blow to overall growth remains a glancing one so far, it could become a direct hit if the shutdown is not resolved by next month. Some of the 800,000 federal employees who have been going unpaid since the 22 December are in increasingly dire straits. More than 1,500 appeals have been set up by them on crowdfunding site GoFundMe, seeking a financial lifeline to pay rent or feed on the clothes their children. On Wednesday, the president is expected to sign legislation backdating wages for all 800,000 employees whenever the shutdown ends. In desperation, the Department of Agriculture, the Internal Revenue Service and the Federal Aviation Administration have just recalled more than 50,000 employees who must work without pay, according to a Pew Research Center opinion poll. A divide in public support for the wall is continuing to widen. The survey, released on Wednesday, finds that 58% of Americans oppose building any new walls on the United States-Mexico border, while 40% support the measure. Nearly 88% of those opposed say it would be wrong for Congress to pass a bill that includes any border wall funding, even if it is the only way to end the shutdown. Among those that support the wall, 72% say any bill that ends the shutdown would be unacceptable without Mr. Trump's wall funding. 2 Scandinavian women tourists have been found dead in Morocco, with kids to their necks, the country's interior ministry said. Both bodies were found near the town of Imlil in the high Atlas mountain range, near the foot of North Africa's highest peak, Mount Topko. The women, from Denmark and Norway respectively, have not yet been named. A police investigation has been launched into their deaths. The Interior Ministry statement said. The United States military says it has killed 62 fighters from the Islamist group Al-Shabaab in 6 airstrikes in Somalia. 4 airstrikes on Saturday killed 32 militants, and a further 2 on Sunday killed 28, it said in a statement. These were the deadliest air attacks in Somalia since November 2017, when the United States said it had killed 100 militants. Somalia has seen a sharp increase in the number of airstrikes and casualties since President Donald Trump took office in the United States in January 2017. A tally by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that at least 400 people have been killed in airstrikes since the beginning of 2017, far more than the previous 10 years combined. The latest strikes bring to at least 30 the number carried out in Somalia so far this year, compared with 35 recorded in 2017. The United States has a huge military base in neighboring Djibouti, from where it launches attacks on the militants. Mr. Trump gave the United States military greater authority in March 2017 to attack militants in Somalia. Traditionally, United States presidents have been wary of intervening in Somalia since 80 Special Forces soldiers died fighting militias in the capital Mogadishu in 1993, a battle dramatized in the film Black Hawk Down. No civilians were killed in the latest airstrikes, which were carried out in coordination with the Somali government, the United States military said. Alongside our Somali and international partners,